a canvas black with whispers gold, stories untold, secrets unfold, diamonds scatter where the shadows sleep, infinite skies, a promise to keep, beyond the lights where the stars collide, a universe vast where wonders hide, above our heads a cosmic dance, an endless dream, a fleeting galaxies were like painted streams, brushing the edges of our dreams. Planets hum their silent tune, chasing the sun, kissing the moon. We look but don't see, we forget to believe, beyond the lights where the stars collide, a universe vast where wonders hide, above our heads a cosmic dance, an endless dream, a fleeting nebulous bloom in colors untamed, every spark a fire unclaimed, hidden glory just out of sight, a quiet roar in the endless night, beyond the lights where the stars collide, a universe vast where wonders hide, above our heads a cosmic dance, an endless dream, a fleeting shade, a fleeting
And welcome once again to Sky Through Livestream. Hi guys, how are you? Mark D'Antonio here, your guide to the stars, I guess, right? I mean, I'm an astronomer. This is what we look like. Of course, you can't really tell. But I just wanted to welcome everybody. A good crowd already. This is nice to have you guys with us so soon. Tonight's going to be kind of cool. We're going to look at the winter nebulae that are out there, and we're also going to look at some of the up-and-coming galaxies in the springtime sky that are rising even now as we speak. To show you that, I'm just gonna this by the way, this is the star Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, and so I think that's pretty cool. So let me take us to take us to our planetarium. Right. For those that know, I mean, everything you see on the screen is integral part of everything we do. There's the telescopes. You can see that it's not dark quite yet out there, but it's fine. So here's what we're looking at. This is our sky. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, I'll just get rid of all that. So here's the western horizon. You can see that it's not not quite dark yet, right? Matches that top view pretty well. And then we have, if we move toward the south, high in the sky, right in the southern meridian, we have Orion right now. And Orion has classically been one of those places that's just amazing, has this incredible number of different objects in it that are very, very cool. Among them is Betelgeuse right here. Betelgeuse is that star that is going to go supernova within a, well, we say within 10,000 years. But it could already have gone supernova. And the light train with that information hasn't reached us yet. You know, it's like water streaming out of a hose. If you stop the hose water sometime back in the hose, the column keeps going, and it's still hitting you and hitting you until that reaches you. So if Betelgeuse exploded 100 years ago, well, then it's about 500 plus years into its journey to us. So that's interesting. So now I can tell that we're looking at a beautiful red supergiant. When we look at this star up close and we can actually see the actual shape of this star, it's one of the few. Only the largest red supergiants can we see that big. Antares is one of them. Betelgeuse is another. Okay, Sirius, no, we can't see Sirius, even though it's way closer to us than Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse is 640 or 650 light years from us. Wow. So, you know, if you saw my post, I'm starting to, you know, state the distances and give you some context to the distances and what it means for us, what was happening here at the time. So go back 640 years ago, and whatever was happening 640 years ago here on Earth is exactly what was going on when the light we see right this second left Betelgeuse. It's really, really crazy and neat, actually. It's a very interesting study. So we have in the upper left, we have Betelgeuse. We have Bellatrix. We have Rigel down here. This is Rigel right here. Let me get rid of that. So we have Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, and Rigel, and then we have Saiph right here. And the belt of three stars. The belt of three stars are Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. It's like, you know, songs by the dot. Ding, ding, ding. Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka are really, really hot O-type stars. They're extremely young, only a few million years old. Alnitak, for instance, is a star that it's well, it's so hot that it's actually going to end up ending its life as a supernova. Okay, let's come down here. You can see there's stuff in here. So if we click on Alnitak here, all right, this star, all right, let's look at its spectral type. It's an O 9.7. And then there's a little Roman numeral 1 followed by a little letter B. The Roman numeral 1 followed by a little A followed by a little B means supergiant. And these stars only ever die as supernovae. So Alnitak is only a few million years old, and within a few million years, it's going to be missing from the belt of Orion. Okay, now Lucy, Australopithecus afarensis, our ancestor, our hominid ancestor, right? Lucy was wandering around Africa and Olduvai Gorge in that region, and if she happened to look up at Orion, she would have noticed a few things very different from what we see today. One thing she would notice is that Betelgeuse would have been blue and hot, looking like this star, or this star, or this star. Okay, that's because Betelgeuse used to be an O-type star. It's very highly evolved now. It's used up all its hydrogen, so it's swollen into this gigantic monster star. That's so big, if you put it where the sun is, it'd go out all the way past the orbit of Mars in terms of its radius and almost reach Jupiter. Antares is bigger still. Okay, so and that's a sphere, remember. So you got to fill all that space in between. It took us years okay, to get to Jupiter with the probes that we've sent there, right? Like Juno and so forth. Jeez, it took us years to get there, and it would take us years just to cross half the disk. Years, just to cross half the disk of Betelgeuse. Okay, so that gives you an idea how big these things are. And so Alnitak is this O9.5. It goes from O1 to O9, okay, or O0 basically to O9, and that's the subcategory within. And we do like O1.3, 1.5, depending on what we see in them. It's a temperature and compositional, ID that we give them. So Alnitak then, oh, there goes a satellite. That's Sirius, like I said. Alnitak then wasn't visible when Lucy was around, and Betelgeuse was blue. Alnitak was born later, okay, after Lucy. So interesting how that happens. Now, here's one thing that we haven't really seen. We haven't seen the full-on birth of a star. Oh yes, we've seen stars that are in the process of turning on, but it takes a long time for them to just turn on. They don't just go bink and there they are. Okay? Ultimately, that's sort of what happens, but they don't turn on for a fairly lengthy period of time, in over years, okay? And so they would slowly start to make their presence known more and more, first as an infrared object, a very hot spot, something the James Webb Telescope would see, and then they would actually find themselves being a very, very interesting mix of a star that is now starting to fuse hydrogen, and a star that is now starting to radiate all of its energy outward in a way that is more uniform. But when stars are young, sometimes they're very, very temperamental. The younger stars, the redder stars, tend to just pop off flares all the time. The M-class stars, the M-type stars. Okay, it's O, B, A, F, G, K, and M. Okay, and M are the coolest and the reddest, and the O's are the hottest and the bluest in the universe. And blue is the hot color in the universe. White is not as hot, believe it or not. When you say, oh, it's white hot, well, blue hot is even hotter. Okay, hard to believe, but it is. Okay, so it's getting darker out there. I see that. I did want to make a comment about Betelgeuse here, and let me just do that. When we talk about Betelgeuse, this upper left star here in Orion, which we're not looking at right now, that's Sirius, but Betelgeuse is going to go supernova, like we said. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Betelgeuse is a star that is a red star, so its outer layers are actually very cool. They're not very hot, but the interior core is, of course, extremely hot. Now, let me give this to you. When we talk about Betelgeuse, all right, we're talking, like I mentioned, about 640 light years away, and when the light we're seeing from Betelgeuse tonight, I should just probably put it on Betelgeuse, huh? But the light if we go there, that we'll see tonight, the very light we're seeing, that light left in the year 1384 here on the Earth. Okay, think about that. The Black Death had just decimated Europe, and the Ming Dynasty was now beginning its long rule of China. So the light we see tonight left when that was happening on Earth. So that gives you an idea of the vastness and size of the universe. It's absolutely monstrously large. So kind of neat, So now let's do that. Let's actually go and look at Betelgeuse. Why not, right? With our luck, it'll explode tonight. So here we go. Okay, you see the telescope is moving. So we should see the crosshair show up here. Here it comes. And is Betelgeuse here? Well, yes it is. There it is. Okay. So Betelgeuse is right there in the view. And what we're going to do is we're going to move it over. I think I should have gone the other way. Yeah, I knew that. Okay. So let me do that. Oh, here goes a satellite through there. All right. And let's bring this down. Here we go. Now, it doesn't look like much yet, okay? But here's the thing. If the star is so cool and not very hot, why do we see it so bright? And keep this in mind, okay? To our eyes, all right, Betelgeuse looks bright when you look at it with your eyes. But guess what else is going on? That star, without the benefit of an interferometer telescope that can show its actual size, is just a point of light to us. Imagine this being just a point of light. The only reason we're seeing it like this blob right here is because it's so bright that that little tiny point of light saturates our camera sensor. In fact, it saturates all camera sensors in all time. So we look at this, and that's what we see. Now, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to come down here and make sure that we are good here. Let me just do this. Okay, good. All right. So let me bring us up there. Okay. I can see that we're probably going to want to focus a little, so I'm going to try that now. It's probably going to go the other way. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So this red star is absolutely monstrous. And if we look at the surface of Betelgeuse, the actual size of Betelgeuse in the sky with special telescopes, we can actually infer the actual size of Betelgeuse and take photographs of it. We don't see a spherical star. We see a star that's got lumps and bumps on it, kind of like it has warts all over it. These are areas of convection, like in your pot when you're boiling water. Areas of convection that push through the surface and make a big bubble. And maybe it splots off and comes back down. And it does that long term over a course of days or weeks. So every time we look at a star like Betelgeuse, we can see very clearly what's going on when we use an interferometer and do that type of analysis. I needed that water, I tell you. So, that said, let's actually, why not? Let's take, first of all, let's label this. I'm sure that our telescope might be able to locate where we are. We don't have enough stars. So what I'll do is this. I'm going to take a 10-second photo, just a quickie, and I will label this as Betelgeuse, and then we'll save it to skytourlive.org, where you can download it immediately. Actually, within 30 seconds or so. And poof, there we are. More stars. All right, so now when we try to identify where we are, the stars will help us figure out where we are. We can just say, tell me where we are. And we figured it out. And here we are. We are at Alpha Orionis. I will set that as the target name. I could have just written it in, but why not? I did that. Okay, so I'll save it within annotations, and we'll get rid of that. All right, so now let's just do a 15-second photo of Betelgeuse, and we'll stack it. And we're in a low light mode, believe it or not, so I'm going to come out of that. All right, and allow us to just replace that with the image of Betelgeuse. And I'll explain how we take these pictures. Okay, now there you see a lot more. Now that bluey thing there, that's actually a lens flare from Betelgeuse. Okay, those rings are part of the optical system. They're not anything that's being given off by Betelgeuse. Wouldn't that be cool though? Okay, so basically this is our histogram down here, and that histogram means just where all the brights and darks are and where the colors all line up. All right, you can see a red, green, and a blue curve, and the white curve is the average. So if I click this button, I will get all the curves lined up properly underneath each other, so you see a little bit of a change. Now we're not guiding, so we're seeing them get dashes like this, and I'm not trying to guide right now. So what we'll do next is if I drop this down, we'll do that a little easier. So now what I'll do is I will come in here, and I'm going to take an exposure right now, and this exposure will allow us to guide. Now I'm going to tell us to grab a guide star, which it'll probably grab that one right there. That's my guess. Let's see. Boom, boom. That's what it did. Okay, now we can clear this, and we're guiding. So now the telescope's being micro-driven to be staying nice and stable on a point that I choose in the sky. So now we're going to see dots. We're not going to see anything shaking around. And so every single exposure is going to be lined up perfectly. We're going to take a few. First of all, I do want to come back and say hi to people that have joined us. Kathy Messick, welcome. You were the first one. Nice to see you. And you got to tell me more about that telescope. It better not be sitting in the case. I know you're in Seattle, but you know something? You probably should be able to get a few clear skies, right? You let me know. All right. Cyclone's with us. How you doing, man? Daisy and Zoe, good to see you. Lori at LDP, good to see you, Lori. And then was this STLS guy? All right. And then, PG. How about that? PG, is that you, Petita? Tony Lowe, Sean Paris, how's it going, man? And let's see, Lynn Beats, that is Kyle Lynch. Kyle Lynch, he went from knowing nothing about exoplanets to being someone who's actually now got a couple of exoplanet finds to his name, right? He's done a wonderful job, and all he did was like astronomy. I'm going to tell you a little story. The man who discovered Pluto wasn't an astronomer. He worked in the observatory. Okay, he was a technician who worked in the observatory, and he asked if he could get time in a telescope to look at cool things, and they let him. So he did his own research, and he discovered Pluto. And that man was Clyde Tombaugh. I met Clyde years and years ago. We sat on a grassy knoll in Vermont together. We were at an astronomy conference, and he was also speaking. So it was kind of cool to hear his recollections. It was really, really neat. So let's see. We also have Galactic Volcano. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. And Tim F is with us. All right, man. I love it. And I'll be reading some of the notes again when I get back. And, of course, we have Fantasy. What's going on? Good to see you. And let's see. Fantasy says, how long before the information of a star from M42, M43 is noticeable to us? Excellent question. And we'll talk about that in just a minute, because I'll be spending some time with you about that. All right. First of all, as a little teaser, when the light left the Orion Nebula, which we're going to see in a little while, it was 680 AD here. Okay? 680 AD. All right, Star Marshal, what's going on? Nice to see you. And let's see, we've got Kal-El. Nice to see you, man. Karen Belmont, good to see you, Karen. And let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at some more reading as well as I'm doing this. Okay, then Desert Dweller, what's going on? Nice to see. Yes, Petita's here. Excellent. Oh, Petita, I miss you, and I'm so glad you're here. Petita and Woody are cool people. All right, so now you can see this beautiful image of Betelgeuse, and we'll save it. Why not, right? It's a beautiful red star, and it's good to see it before, and then after we see it. Hopefully, we can get it to blow up. If we can catch it exploding, wow. Okay, and hey, that might be our luck. I'll tell you why. Okay, what was I saying? In 2019, we were looking at a lunar eclipse, and the moon was blood red in the sky, kind of like this. Okay, and as we're watching the lunar eclipse, all of a sudden we saw in the dark red of the moon, we saw this bright white flash. Went poof. What was that? Turns out, we and 5 other people on the entire planet saw a meteor strike the moon live, and we were one of 5 people that saw it. I thought that was pretty cool, and it's a stream in our skytourlive.org. When you go to our channel, and you can see it. It's from 2019, January 2019. Yep. David in Bangor, how you doing? How are things up in Bangor, Maine? I love Bangor, Maine. Spent a lot of my childhood in Port Clyde, Maine, David. I think I told you that. A member of the Port Clyde groups on Facebook and stuff. All right, so let's save this here. Okay, and we'll save it just like you see it there. So as what you're seeing here in this little right there, these photos that you're seeing here, these are saved right now locally on the machine 2,600 miles away out in the observatory where I'm streaming this from. I'm in Connecticut, and it's being shipped up to satellites and down to our server that is hosted off of skytourlive.org. And we're supported by donations from people like you. So if you like what you see tonight, please consider joining the Patreon for $3, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever. That would be wonderful. You know, for the cost, like they say on NPR, right? For the cost of a cup of coffee. You know, but you know, this helps us greatly because you know we are constantly trying to maintain equipment too, and that costs money. Marianne, who's part of our there's three of us. There's Tara, Marianne, and myself. Marianne just went out to the desert to look at the Sonoran-based telescope, and we got it working for a night, and then we lost the breaker again. So there's a breaker box that has to be maintained, and you know we have to do that. You know we can't expect other people to do it, so we've got to do it. So we usually dig into our pockets and pull out whatever we have to get it to fix. But it drains us after a while. So anything you can do to help us, man alive, that would just be fantastic. I'm also, you probably can't see it, but let me see if I can show you. Well, it's sort of there. There's a skytourlive.org t-shirt, and on the back it has all 9 planets in a ring, and it says I need my space, and Pluto's in there. That's why I said all 9. Yeah, so Pluto's a planet to me, so I believe that. I understand why the IAU, the International Astronomical Union, made that choice and so forth, but I don't agree with it. We can disagree, you know. So Betelgeuse is done. So what I'll do, I'll save the last one, and then I will take us to another object. Betelgeuse was our first object of the evening. I just wanted to show it to you, just to you know, finish letting the telescope cool down. Right now the temperature is minus 19.6 Celsius. The sensor, which is very important. We always keep the temperature sensor extremely cold out there, even though the temperature in the building is about, it was 20 last time. Where is it now? Temperature. Oh, hold on. Where is it? I just saw it. Oh, duh. It's 21 Celsius right now in there. Right here. You can see that. Okay. All right. So let's get out of our live stack, and I'll take an opportunity to just tell you real quick, all right? And when you look over here, this guy right here, this is our exposure. That is how long we expose the sensor. Then right down here is the gain, and the gain is the sensitivity of the sensor. So right now the exposure is 1,000 milliseconds. Not yet it isn't, but now it is. Okay, and 1,000 milliseconds. That means that it's 1 second. There's 1,000 milliseconds, you know, thousandths of a second in 1 second, right? And then the gain is the sensitivity of the sensor, and the sensitivity of the sensor is very important because if we set that to anything other than, say, 150, we're going to get noise in our image. It's going to be splotchy, and we're going to see a lot of that. So I'm going to do some of the shots tonight at 150 gain. It can go to 600. And when you go to like really high gain, let me see if I can just show you really quick what that does. Let me go to high gain right now. Let me just drag this. Now here's 600 gain. Look at that. A lot brighter, a lot noisier too. See all that digital noise? All right. See, watch. I'll zoom in. Look at all that, and it's changing second by second. See, watch. Okay. See, it's changing. All right. So now, if yeah, this could show us some really faint nebulae, but we're going to get a lot of noise in there. So what we do is we balance the amount of gain with the exposure. So if I bring this down, okay, and I take it down back to where we were, okay, like here this is 64, all right, and I'll just go back to 150 just to make it 150. All right. All right. So here's 150. So now you see there's much less noise in the image. and it's a lot more acceptable. So when you take a moderate exposure, 20, 30 seconds, you can get a lot of detail, a lot of data. So that's how astronomy works with a dedicated astronomical camera like we're using. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm sure it does. All right, so let me back us out here. All right, and now let's go back to our planetarium, and let's go back to Betelgeuse. And now let me show you what I was saying before. This is Alnitak right here, okay? And Alnitak sort of looks like Sirius, okay, for sure. But Sirius is not a hot star like Alnitak. Alnitak's an O star. It's very, very hot. Down below here, we're gonna start with this guy tonight. The Running Man Nebula. This is beautiful. It's a great way to start the evening. I'll tell you why. Because our system here. Let me turn off these lines and turn on these. If these are up and down, it means we're right straight over the south. But right now, you'll notice that we're not really. It's past the southern meridian. Okay, and so we're going to be looking at the Orion area. Now, interesting thing about Orion, this entire region is just chock full of dark dust. This comes from countless supernovae and dust forming in the outer atmospheres of stars like Betelgeuse, old supergiants, and we see them pop off as a supernova once every so often. But the universe has been here for billions and billions of years, 13.8 billion years. So there's been a long time for this dust to accumulate, and it does. This is all dust. Now this is the planetarium view, but what we're going to do is do a live view of this, okay? This guy right here. So let's head there now, right? And there it goes. And we should see it. We should see this, the stars of this come in pretty soon. And let's see if we are accurately. It looks like we're almost to it. Let's do this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, that's actually interesting. All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna re-synchronize. There goes a satellite. See it? It's not a long object. It's not a dash. It's actually a exposure of 1 second. So we're taking a little tiny pinpoint moving slowly, and over 1 second the light drags out and makes a dash. Okay, all right, so there we are. So we're good, and what I'll do now is I'm going to set this to fit the height. Okay, let's see where we are in here. Okay, so we are relatively close. I'm just gonna take a 10-second shot just to see what's going on. All right, so we'll take a quick 10-second shot. You can see the progress bar down there, the lower right. We're going to be taking photos of the Running Man Nebula. I think it's just here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is bring that in. I thought that was where it was. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in over here. I'm going to bring that over like this. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to bring it up a little bit because there is a nice region in here that makes a beautiful, for a beautiful view. Still go up a little more. See, I know where it is. That's why you don't know. Okay, now this is a nebula that, you know, when we look in the universe, we see nebulae. What's a nebulae? Nebulae means cloud. What's it a cloud of? Well, it can be a cloud of dust. like we see around Orion Nebula. We see all this cloud of dust. That's actually dark dust grains that are illuminated by starlight hitting them and reflecting, kind of like dust in the air on Earth. But this blue light here that we see, it's sort of a blue light, right? Well, let's do first of all, let's get a guide star going. And after we get our guide star, we will grab the guide star. And then once it's guiding, which probably can grab that one. There it is. It did it. Okay, so we'll take that guy. All right, we're guiding successfully. The beautiful peak there. That's what you want. Right, that tiny little star, and the telescope's going to be held right directly on that. So now we can do an exposure as long as we want, and it's going to come out beautiful. So we're going to do a 35-second shot here, and we're going to come out of low light mode and go into deep sky mode. All right, and so what happens is the stars give off light in the spectrum: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Right, that's the spectrum. That's called the continuous spectrum. Now, the blue part of that spectrum, the blue light, that's higher frequency light, all right? And I'm out of focus because I'm lower frequency, apparently. So the blue light is higher frequency, and that higher frequency light does something when it encounters dust. It actually, look at that, that's beautiful. The high frequency light coming from the star is intercepted by the dust clouds and sent out in all directions. It's called scattering, all right? But we've come to call these blue nebulae like this reflection nebulae because they're kind of reflecting light in all directions from the star, but selectively, only the blue part, because the dust grains are a certain size and the frequency of light is a certain size, and it matches, and boom. It's kind of like a resonance thing. Right, so this beautiful nebula that we're seeing is a combination of this blue dust cloud that's being reflected. It's reflecting the light of these blue stars in here. This is very obvious. You can see that. And then we have this red thing in here. What that is a red emission nebula, like the Orion Nebula. What is an emission nebula? Well, we have reflection nebula, which is sort of passive. There's no atomic transitions. You're not, causing atoms to do anything, all right, with a reflection nebula. This is just scattering blue light from a star. It's like dust in the air scattering sunlight, okay? There's nothing going on with the dust. It's just reflecting the light that hits it. But when we look at the red emission nebula, like we see here, the red emission nebula is because hydrogen atoms are being excited by the hot blue light coming from these stars. And again, it's in the blue end of the spectrum, but it's part of the spectrum you can't see. It's the ultraviolet. So whereas these clouds of dust just reflect blue light from the stars, the hydrogen atoms that are in here, the electrons, get energized by this ultraviolet, even bluer light, higher energy, and it sends them off the atom. That's called ionization. So now you just have a hydrogen nucleus, for instance, with an electron floating around out here. Well, when it comes back, it gives off the energy that it stole when it left the atom, and when it gives off a characteristic color. And in hydrogen's case, one of the many colors that it gives off is this red. We call that hydrogen alpha, H2. Okay, and so that just means ionized hydrogen. So we're watching that happen right here, and you're literally watching many atoms recombine with their hydrogen, recombine with their electrons, and when they do, they give off this beautiful red glow. We'll see that in the Orion Nebula even more, and that red glow is one of the primary colors of the universe. Okay, because hydrogen is the most populous element in the whole universe. Next is helium. Helium has all its own colors too, but nothing like hydrogen. Okay, and the third most abundant element in the whole universe is oxygen. And oxygen gives off a characteristic color too when it's ionized. And that color is a teal green. Not this kind of blue like we're seeing here, okay? But a teal green, teal blue, okay? really impressive color. All right. And so the primary colors are like a royal blue, like we're seeing here, and red, and teal blue. And we don't see green, interestingly. There's no green stars. But wait, Mark, you said they give off red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Yeah, they do. That's the spectrum. But it has to do with the way hot things emit radiation. And when you heat something up really, really hot, okay, they emit a blue light, okay, like a hot blue O-type star, the hottest and bluest stars there are. But as they get cooler, they go from that blue hot to white hot, okay, white hot to yellow hot to orange hot, and orange hot to red hot. So when you think red hot is really hot, it's nowhere near the highest temperatures in the universe. Nowhere near. And maybe tonight I'll show you a star that's actually absolutely blue hot. And you can see it very obviously against the other stars in the field. And we might just do that. So now what I'm doing here is I'm modifying the curves here to show you these colors even better. This is, as I said, the Running Man Nebula. It's a well-known nebula, as you can see. I like to do annotations on my images, so you're seeing it here. This is the Running Man Nebula. It's NGC 1977. What's that mean, Mark? NGC means New General Catalog. It's a catalog. We make catalogs of this stuff. And this is one of them. And so we're going to set the target to be the Running Man, okay, which is that guy right there, all right? And we'll set that target name, and that changes up here to the target. This is what names the folder when you go up to skythroughlive.org when you try to find these later, all right? So you'll see it, and then you can download the picture. All right, so I've set the target name, and now we're going to save it with these annotations. And then we can say bye-bye because it's already been saved. So what's being saved up on the server then is this image here. Let me see if I can bring it up. This guy. Okay, this shows up like that. It's just, you know. All right, so that's what's saved up there now. Okay, and it kind of tells you what things are. All right, now on top of that, all right, we have let's get rid of that. All right, so now let's play with this. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna knock that down, okay, and get rid of that. Okay, put that down and make this full screen here. And now what I want to do is I want to play with this to try and bring out some of the other features. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna just try this. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna pull this back just a little bit. You'll see our stars are little pinpoints. That's really good. Okay, so now this blue nebula, you'll notice there's a dark thing right here. This dark thing is a tongue of dark a molecular cloud, actually, dark dust that's overlaying the bright nebula behind it. Okay, so this is up here, and this part here is back here. That's how that looks. So from the side, it would look like that. But here, and again, remember the universe is in 3D, you know, in 3D. Now let's talk about this. The light we're seeing from this guy right here, okay, it left 1,344 years ago. The light we're seeing right now left when it was 680 AD on planet Earth, okay? And I might have mentioned back then it was actually the Islamic Golden Age. It was beginning to flourish back then. And that was, again, 680 AD. In China, the Tang Dynasty was actually making itself well known and actually reaching the pinnacle of its influence when the light we're seeing tonight left that. Isn't that crazy? I love that. You know, I never thought I would enjoy that part of it. If you like this, I'll do more, but you gotta let me know. All right, so I want to see if some of the comments too. Some of the comments, you got some nice comments in here. Kyle Lynn Beats is saying a lot of things. And Galactic Volcano says the majority of life in the galaxy is towards the center. I'm not sure about that. I mean, it could be. It could be. I mean, we look at the stellar types. I mean, when I was getting my degree in astronomy, I did a study on the different stellar types. And one of the things that I discovered was that we could have planets around stars that were up to a level A or before. Hold on, my mouse just fell. It doesn't like me. That's probably the only dead air you're gonna get, huh? You're probably like, oh, stop talking, let us just look. Yeah, okay. Let's see if we're still working. Yeah, we are. Okay. Lori LDP says that's a beautiful nebula. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. That's why I wanted to make it full screen so you could see it. And of course, Fred Phonebone says amazingly lovely. Yeah, it is. And Kyle says, have you tried removing green noise? I'm actually doing noise removal dynamically, Kyle. See, so if I do this, every now and then when I click that particular button, I'm color correcting, lining up the curves, and they automatically will remove the noise. Now, I do have something else I can try, which I did before you guys joined. And what I'm going to do first, before activating it, is I'm going to save this with 18. All right. And I'm going to save it exactly as seen. So this will be available at skythroughlive.org. If you go down, you scroll down to the entry that says, I want cool pictures. And you just click on it, take me to the database. And it takes you to all the folders of our data. And we've got years of data up there for you to look at. You can spend all the time you want. Well, we're trying to get an application done for all our data, but Microsoft, we had one, and Isabella Melamed from Bulgaria, amazing contributor to SkyTour Livestream, amazing woman. She built the application, and then Microsoft decided to change the rules on how images can be included in applications. And everything that she did was ruined. You know, overnight, literally overnight. And it wasn't fair. We complained and complained and complained and complained, and they were like, well, whatever. So that's why it's not available to all of you now. You know, because Microsoft ruined it. Yeah, Micro Minds more likely. Okay, so if I bring this back for a minute, let's just pop this back up. All right, and I'm automatically doing the height. All right, and let's correct again. Let's take this now and move this closer. Get things a little brighter. I want you to see, can you see this dark dust? Can you see how it has like a highlight right here? That dust highlight, that's real. Okay, we're actually watching that. What it's telling us is that this object here is somewhat embedded, and one of these stars, probably one of these three, is partially illuminating this. So it means it's kind of below that star in 3D and can get a little bit illuminated on the edge. It might be this one for all we know. So really neat stuff. And gauging the distances to all these things is really something that's a science that can be done. But I can tell you that we don't know all the details in here. We know the distance to this star, to this star, to this star, to that star. We know all those distances. But the clouds are a little different because they're always in motion. Now, it takes thousands of years for that motion to be discernible for something like this that's literally 1,300 years into the past, years ago, in 1,300 light years away. So, but we still see these objects, okay? I'm going to try to... Now, I'm only at 150 right now, okay? So you can see we can pull out more detail by just doing that. And I think I'm enhancing this as well. Let's try to sharpen up some detail in there. Okay, now you can kind of see this additional little bar here of dark material. That's neat. Yeah, so this is the Running Man Nebula, okay, and it's beautiful. Now, it's like you're looking at a cosmic tapestry, isn't it? And this is the thing that I think is really interesting. That we're seeing this kind of flat against the sky, but it's a three-dimensional object. You know, is this part closer to us than this? Well, I think the answer that we know is no. Okay, and here's why. Even though it's 3D, this part here is embedded more into that blue reflection nebula. Why do we know that? Because look at the color of this thing. Now, a hydrogen emission is pretty much red. It's actually quite red. But this looks magenta, doesn't it? Does anybody have an idea, before I tell you, why it would look magenta? All right? Think about it. Put it in the chat. All right. So what we're going to do next, let me just move this up. There we go. I have to get that back in there. I guess I moved it a little bit. All right. All right, let's go back here. All right, and we're going to come down here as well. We're going to look at some of these extreme edges here, which are gorgeous. Okay. Fantasy says distortion from black hole, galactic volcano. Thinking ahead, saying helium gas. No, and no. I'll tell you why. Fantasy says, or they're layered. All right, now you're getting closer. They are layered. All right. Now I want you to think about this. Think about how paints act when you mix them together. And then think about how light acts when you mix it together. It's not the same as paint. Okay? When you mix all the paints together, all the different colors, what color do you get? You get black. Okay? However, with light, when you mix all the colors together, what do you get? You get white. Because it's light. Right? So, in the same regard, if you have a red nebula embedded in a blue nebula, the color that the blue light mixing with the red light creates is magenta. Or as Kirk would say, Spock, it's magenta. Get us out of here. So that's why in Kathy Messick says layered spectrum of light. Yeah, in Daisy and Zoe, because of the different frequency of the light wave. Yeah, you see, the frequency of the light stays the same in this particular case, relatively. But it's a matter of how light of different colors mixes when it's through another medium. And the other medium in this case is dust up in here that is actually reflecting the blue light from the stars around it. And that's happening here too. It's not just happening here. It's happening here as well. Right? This is immersed in it. So we're seeing a magenta color. So that's something behind the blue. See? And the mixed color with light is a magenta color. Kind of cool. Really cool, actually. Super cool, man. All right, so let's try to. I'm gonna overprocess over there. I'm gonna take that over here. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna just crank it up. Let's see what's hiding here. Okay, so you can kind of see this magenta now really easily. Okay, that's neat. And then we can do a color correction. And when the color correction doesn't do much, it means that we're looking at the correct colors. All right. All right, so we've done 30 here. We're going to save this right there. And I'm at 150 for our gain, the sensitivity of our sensor, as I mentioned. And what we're going to do is I'm going to up that. I'm going to put it now to 200. All right. And we'll go to another object here. All right, so we're going to go back to our low light mode. And in our low light mode, we are going to see. This is the Running Man. You just can't see it. And now we're going to go and check it out. Another thing here. So this here is a beautiful little area, okay? Because right here in the Orion Nebula is this complex. Now, let me just back out a minute and just tell you. Okay, it's so hard to tell what's going on here. I recognize that. In fact, only where there's light reflecting off something or ionizing something, making it emit other light, like nebulae and other things, do we know there's stuff there. But you have to understand this entire area, not just here, okay? I'm talking about this entire area, this entire part of the sky is literally amazingly filled with all this dust. It's one of the galactic dust lanes in our galaxy, and the Orion Nebula effectively is like a blister on one of them, on one part of that, I'd say dust lane, I guess, in there. And that's really, really fascinating. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come down here, and we're just going to go to this location. All right. And as we come to that location, yeah, and I got to turn off our guider. Telescope's like turning around here. It's all right. The telescope won't move into a risky position, so it'll turn itself around. So right about there, I would say. No, it's still going. Oh, duh! I missed it. I couldn't tell where it was going. Yeah. All right. So it's going to be moving around now and pointing that way in the sky. There we go. All right. So now what I'm going to do is make it find itself again, because sometimes it happens that way, that it moves so far that it needs to be coaxed back to its coordinates. All in all, it's actually pretty good. All right, so we can see there's some nebula here, but I am going to do this. I'm going to come back into here, and I'm going to do that. Grab that. Let's see if I can do this and tell it to go there. It's just a slight jog. All right, so it says it's there. Oh, that's 10 seconds. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. All right, let's do that. All right, let's try 12 seconds here and do it in a stack, and let's see what we get. Go into low light, go out of low light, go into deep sky. And we're at 200 gain right now. Okay, so we're obviously not where we thought we were. Let me... It says it's there, but it's not there. Okay. That happens sometimes. Yeah. Move them out. Yeah, we're a degree off. It's going to come in now. That's better. Okay. All right, so now this region, all right, and again we're doing a stack, so I'm going to get rid of that for a minute. All right. So this point where we are, this is the Messier 43. I mentioned we had a question about that, M42 and M43, talking about the distance the light has traveled. 1,344 years it's been traveling. And so what I'll do now is show you what this looks like with a deep sky shot. All right. So, and this is at 200 gain. Now you'll notice this area right here. These four guys. This is neat stuff. Okay. These four guys right here. Okay, those four guys are illuminating this entire nebula. That's called the trapezium. Notice it looks like a trapezoid, right? The trapezium is four hot young stars, and they're causing all of this to light up, all right? And this all out here to light up. It is something that can go for light years, that kind of glow and that kind of power. So when we look at this, keep that in mind. Now, what's in here, there's oxygen in here. So we're seeing it's a subtle teal blue in here. It's hard to tell really from this. But in a moment, you'll see this is also oxygen. It's going to look crazy beautiful to you. And you'll see the hydrogen and the oxygen separated very nicely. All right, so let's go grab our guide star. All right, here. Oops, sorry. I got to do this. I got to get the guide star. All right, let's go and grab it. Grab it and go. There we go. Another beautiful star. Perfect for guiding. Okay. This one will be a 35-second shot at 200 gain. So usually you keep the gain low and you do longer exposures. If you do the gain high and take short exposures, you see a little bit, but the detail that might be there is lost by the over processing on the sensor, the pushing the sensor too much. Okay, so this is what we're going to look at. So I'm going to go and grab our stack now, and we'll come out of low light mode, and you'll see our first image show up over here. Ta-da! Beautiful. Ready? Here we go. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, that's quite the quite the object. Now, the reason it looks that way is because our curves here are actually just a bit they're too close to each other. So I'm gonna adjust them, make them auto adjust, and you'll see beautiful colors change. Look at that. Okay, now you can see what's happening in here. You can see the teal blue of the trapezium area. Here's a beautiful teal blue of ionized oxygen. This is the ionized hydrogen actually, and the oxygen is here and here. So again, we're seeing a beautiful combination going on, but we aren't seeing what's out here. And what's out here is a lot of dark dust. You can see some hints of it being silhouetted here. Think about this dark dust cloud right here. That dark dust cloud that goes from here all the way to here. Yeah, that's several light years long. Light years. Okay, and it takes, because it's so large and extensive, it's something that if you got into it, you wouldn't even know you were in it. Now I'm going to bring this mid-tone indicator over to start showing you a little bit more about what's hiding in the background here. All right, now it's going to blow all this out, but I want you to see what's here. All right, so I'm going to bring it in. Okay, look at that. Now we're seeing more dust out here, aren't we? And if I pull this back a little bit more, you start to see even more out here. Look at that. So there's all kinds of dust out here. All right, and this star is partially responsible, most likely, for illuminating the hydrogen here, causing it to glow. Right, and then this stuff here is up here in the foreground, and that's all behind it. Okay, so this is probably a roundish spherical nebula being illuminated by and excited by the star in here, and it's behind this long line of dust. So that dust is here, and that big round thing is here. So you see, by looking at the universe, you can actually tell the order of things in the universe. And that's something that I hope some of you can actually do. Fantasy says, feels like a scene out of Interstellar. Doesn't it, though? It's really cool. I'm going to bring this way in. That might get a little noisy, but check that out. Look at all the dust out here. Isn't that incredible? This is all dust. You're not looking at any empty space. You know, it's an illusion, right? Now, if I can increase the little bit of the dark in here, you'll see the color of that dust coming out. Okay, there. Look at that. What color is that, guys? It's brown. This is brown. And the reason it's brown is because it's silicon-based dust. Okay, it's dust particles made of carbon. Carbon is typically black, but when mixed with other compounds, it causes this brown particulate matter out in the universe. And if you flew through here really, really fast, you might find little pits and scars all over your spaceship from the dust. They're only micron-sized pieces of dust. Some of it bigger, some of it smaller. And you'd have to have a way of getting rid of the dust, or at least displacing it. You know? Daisy and Zoe. Daisy says, dust bunnies in space, the adventures continue. That's good. Oh, yeah. See, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. You know? Now, I realize this is blown out, okay? But here's the beauty of this. Because our sensor has what we call very high dynamic range, I can pull this way down and get it all back. Okay, when we used to take photos on, say, film, if you overexposed it, it was gone. But with the digital systems, look at this. I can pull it down and get detail. I can see the trapezium again. In fact, if I was to pull that even further down, check this out. Now we see the trapezium. We see details in here that were lost. But check it out. That is stuff that we get to see now that we couldn't see before. All right? Because this is a digital image and not an image that is lost because of the fact that once you overexpose something, it's gone forever. It's not. Not in this case. Digital world is so much nicer. Yeah. And I have a feeling we're going to be showcasing images taken by one of our own out there in the chat. And I think Kathy Messick knows who I'm talking about. I want her to take some great pictures, and I want to showcase them to all of you when she does. Okay, pressure's on. Tell me if you can do that. Fantasy said there's a bone in your wrist also called the trapezium by your thumb. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, we have the trapezius muscle, which that's different, but it is a sort of a trapezoidal muscle. Look at that beautiful object. Isn't that something? Yeah, that's beautiful. Let's go full screen on that for a minute. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. So this is the detail you just don't get to see when you just looking at in the sky. And I try to bring you these amazing wonders, the cosmic wonders that just are elusive, and I like pointing them out. Okay, I see that we have to also focus. That's weird because it just sort of went out of focus. That last image went out of focus. Let me see if I can I can't unstack it either. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out of this for a sec. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this up. And I'm going to, we're at 35 seconds. I'm going to go back to 1 second. And this will get dimmer a little bit. All right. All right, I want to take and refocus. Okay, that's a little better. And here's what happens, guys. As the temperature changes, so too does the focus of your telescope. So as the temperature has dropped out there, it was 21 Celsius when we started, and now it's 18. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but it was 21 point something. Now it's 18.7. It's enough of a change to cause the telescope to go slightly out of focus. All right. So let's do this again. We'll do a 25-second photo here. Yeah, let's do this. We'll stop this and redo our stars. Good. That's really good. Okay, we're gonna guide on that star. It's stabilizing. Okay. Alright, so now we're gonna do a 25-second shot. And I'll catch it again, and this time we'll live stack this as well. And if you hear that little alarm, boom, boom, I don't know if you can hear that. That says that it, like that, it lost guiding. It might have. Okay, let's get rid of this. We are over processing. Yeah, now the stars are better points. Very nice. All right, I'm gonna do. Okay, let's do this for now. Okay. So almost immediately now with this better focus, you can see this oxygen region here, this teal bluish green. It's so beautiful. Note this blue is very different from the Running Man Nebula that we just looked at. Very, very different because it's a totally different process. This is an atomic transition process. An electron moving around, gaining energy and then giving it back when it comes back into the atom. That process, by the way, is called recombination, when the electron comes back into the atom. And in oxygen's case, 2 electrons get bumped off the atom when it gets ionized. And these 2 electrons rather, they absorb ultraviolet energy from a nearby star, and they go so far off the atom that they are temporarily free of the atom, but then they can come back in, and when they do, they cascade down to very discrete energy levels. These discrete energy levels are well known, and there's what are called series, S-E-R-I-E-S, within atoms for atomic transitions. And in hydrogen's case, we have the Balmer series, the Lyman series, etc. Oxygen, we have series as well, and oxygen gives off this teal blue color when these 2 electrons rejoin the atom. Now you might say, but can't they jump to other places? Yes, and they do. However, the predominant one for hydrogen is this red color that it gives off, and the predominant one for oxygen is this blue color, this bluish teal that it gives off. So that's the difference between the atoms, and it's the difference in how they operate. But those are atomic transition emission, all right? And emission comes from temperature. The temperature has to be hot enough for the electrons to gain enough energy to leave the atom momentarily. Okay. Now, as just to give you an idea, on the surface of, say, the sun you see in the sky, at the very surface of the sun, it's literally hundreds of thousands of miles from the center where all their fusion's going. If the center of the sun's core that's actually doing the fusion at several million degrees, 15 million degrees or so Celsius, okay, the center of that sun is only 15 or so percent the size of the sun, okay, maybe 20. Everything else is along for the ride, but it's still so hot that even at the farthest reaches on the sun, the atoms of, say, hydrogen have lost their electrons, and now we call that plasma. When the electrons have been stripped off an atom, you just have the atomic nuclei running around with free electrons going around. It's too hot for the electrons to rejoin the atom, so they just keep bouncing around and hitting stuff. Okay, and that's what we're seeing in the sun. Well, in the nebulae that are very hot, if we're looking at a predominant hot area here because the hydrogen gas is kept hot enough to be ionized and have electrons ionize at every second, every millisecond, and rejoin, ionize. So it's a constant process. Now, we see in the sun, we see that happen as well. We do have a hydrogen alpha, which is also what this red is called. And we also watch this recombination occur, and it occurs very quickly, and then they ionize all over again. You know, so that's what happens when we're looking at the at a star. This is looking much better, guys, right? I mean, because we actually, let me do this now. Oh yeah, look at it, much more detail, because the other one was slightly out of focus. This is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to this is 11 frames. I'm going to save. This is Running Man, though. I'm going to make this I'll make this measure 43. Okay, do that. It doesn't. Yes, it does, right there. Measure 43. This thing right here, that's called De Moraines Nebula, and it just the name didn't show De Moraines. It just says Marins. Okay, so I set that target. We'll save the image with annotations. So if you want to know what you're looking at, this is where. Then we'll come out. All right, and now we can take this photo and save it. That's a really pretty picture. Wow. Save exactly a scene. That's 13 images. By the way, hi Sam S. I saw you came in earlier and I forgot to say hi. Mr. Django, Steven Smet in Belgium. Nice to see you. Robert Waters, good to see you, man. And Ojbects Forever says, with all that hydrogen and oxygen out there, however, detected water in the nebula. As a matter of fact, yeah. There's a lot of water in the universe. In fact, water's extremely common, exceedingly common. One of the most common molecules there is in the universe, believe it or not. So there's water everywhere, yes. And we see it in nebulae, we see it around stars and dust clouds. And usually it forms in the dark, and it's perhaps in the form of an ice. We find that dust particles are liberally coated with ice many times. And these dust particles with all this ice on them, well, if it's near a hot sun or a star, it's going to melt, but it doesn't. It just sublimates into water vapor and molecules of H2O. Yeah, really cool. So, this is now you can see this foreground object right here. See that? You can tell that that's a foreground object. That's really nice. Okay, let's redock that. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And again, we can drop this down. You can see how we can go through that. Really nice. All right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have it grab a different star. All right, we'll try that one. That's a better point. There we go. All right, we'll go to 20 on this. This should be 19. If it's made a movement, I will fix it. All right, looks good. So I think this is just a beautiful region, and it's one that, you know, people look at the nebula, they don't look at this little section right here, you know, and this little section is just beautiful. We're getting a little wind out there, by the way. You can see the telescope is sticking up into the air, so the wind does blow it around and the guiding gets momentarily disrupted, but we're not keeping any frames that can't be aligned and can't be you know, perfect. Look at this area right here. This is neat, okay? Because what we're seeing here, right? We're seeing a little tongue of brown dust, okay? Another one right here, right? Another one right here, okay? These little tongues of dust, you can see that they're in the front here, and this teal oxygen emission is behind it. All right. So again, always look for that when we look at these nebula, guys. Look for the front and back. Look for the occlusions. Look for the things that are sticking in the front and in the back. It's neat stuff, and it's a really, really cool to do, because then it helps you understand the three-dimensional nature of the universe. Okay, so there we go. That is measure 43. Gosh, that's beautiful. Okay. Oh, I hate to say goodbye, but I'm gonna. All right, so we're gonna leave that right now. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take ourselves down to another area that I think you'll like. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna move over a little and move. Actually, that might be fine, right? Right about here. Yeah, that's true. I gotta stop that. Okay, right there. And move up a little. Yeah, this is... I want to show the fringe region of the nebula right here. So you got a large fringe region right here. This is an exceptionally cool, interesting region. So let's do that. Let's grab another guiding frame. Okay, do we see any stars? Yes, we do. Let's grab a star. Probably going to be that one or that one. There, that's that one. Good. Okay, and yep, that's a good point. Nice. Okay, now let's do a 25-second shot here. Nice thing is the Orion Nebula is very bright, and we don't have to worry so much about exposure time. It's just an exceedingly bright. You know, Fantasy says, if you ever seen it in the binoculars or telescope, do yourself a favor and make it happen before the end of March, right when we start to lose Orion. Thanks, Fantasy. That's actually a very, very, very good suggestion. All right, let me live stack this before we pop out here. Oh, look at that. So this shows you the turbulence in this area. I want to show you these shock waves that are occurring out here. This is a whole nother branch of astronomy, is understanding the shock waves of stellar motions. All right, now you can see a lot of oxygen out here, a lot of hydrogen in here. All right, and again, remember, hydrogen is the most plentiful element in the universe. Oxygen is the third most plentiful. So it stands to reason that nebulae are going to be reddish and they're going to be greenish blue. That's true. The other blue is the reflections off of dust. Now, that reflectivity off of dust is the same thing that is responsible. Okay, that's not exactly true, but I'll explain. The blue nebula that we see, like the Running Man, that blue color is being created the same way our blue sky is being created, and for the same reason. The blue light is being taken in from the sun and sent out in all directions. That's called scattering. And again, high frequency light, very short wavelength, dust particles very small, molecules in our atmosphere very small. So it's an easy scattering process. That's how this works. And that scattering that we're seeing occurs in nebulae as well. And so we get these reflection nebulae, we call them, but they're actually scattering nebulae. And notice that no matter where you look in our sky, it's always blue. And that's because we're looking at the molecules in every direction scattering blue light from the sun. And some of it is coming to your eye. And that's how that happens. So it's the same physics principle right here on Earth that's occurring right now out in space as we see it live. This is really cool. And Yvette says this image is lovely. It is a beautiful image. Yeah. Let's see. Fred Phonebone says, so California has had Santa Ana winds the past couple of days. Skies are clear. It was gorgeous last night. Yeah. I've been there during the Santa Ana winds. Very, very nice. I'll be there end of May, actually, into early June. because I'll be at a conference speaking. I'm doing 3 lectures out there. Contact in the Desert. It'll be in Indian Wells, kind of near Palm Desert, I think. I usually fly into Phoenix and drive in with Marianne and any other folks that want to come in from Arizona. Because we have our table, we set up the Sky Tour live stream stuff there. Yeah, really neat. JSCO's with us. Hey, JSCO. Good to see you. I don't think I missed anybody, did I? I don't believe so. Okay. So here's what we're going to look at here. Notice that, okay, the trapezium stars are right here. These guys are the hotties. no pun intended. But these stars have such powerful stellar winds that what they do is they actually shape the gas because they're pushing the gas away. Okay, look at this curve right here. It's shaping the nebula. The hot stellar winds from this are pushing this gas out and shaping this nebula. And so we're watching this occur, and what we're seeing is a result of hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years even, of a process, That's really cool. Science Bob, hey man, that's Bob McGuire. Nice to see you. It's his birthday. Say happy birthday, guys. He's a great supporter of what we do. Good to see you, Science Bob. Yeah. So happy birthday publicly to you, Bob. And hey, you get a present. It's a beautiful nebula, man. Really cool. Michael Hedrick, nice to see you. So yeah, this now what I can do is I can take and kind of isolate the colors from the background here a little bit. Isn't that cool? Very cool. And then we can pull this in. If I pull this in too much, you'll see that we end up blowing out a lot of stuff and we get all kinds of noise. Again, we're at 200 gain. If I pull it down, however, okay, and I back this off the curve a little bit to just before the curve, it becomes much more viewable. That's really cool. Hey, Science Bob, great. Bob McGuire, as I said, good supporter of Sky Tour. Thank you, Bob, for all you do for us, and to everybody who does. Thank you. And your favorite nebula. That's actually very good. Excellent. Robert Thallium is with us. Happy birthday, he says. See that, Bob? Bet you didn't know you were going to get birthday wishes when you came, huh? Glad you did. We have good people here. You're one of them. All right, so we're watching, again, the stars with their stellar winds are so powerful. They're shaping the gas here, pushing it away. And the reason why it's not just a perfect arc is because there's different densities of material in here. Okay, you'll notice this is brighter right here. This is actually a region of higher density of hydrogen. That's why there's more hydrogen atoms being ionized here. So let me zoom in. So we're actually seeing in this region, we're seeing an area where the light is brighter here, but because there's a higher density of hydrogen here. Why is it higher density? Well, because these stars, stellar winds, are pushing the hydrogen along, and finally, it's basically I'll say piling up, but it's piling up, Yep. Oh, Bob, you're gonna be at Ozark and Contact in the Desert. All right, man. I'll meet you in Ozark for sure, and I'll see you at Contact in the Desert as well. Yeah, and the fun thing about Ozark, it's in Arkansas. They asked me to be the keynote speaker this year, so I'm going to be keynoting. Steve Bassett's going to do one of the keynotes on one day, and I'm going to do one on the other day, which is neat. So you'll notice this dense line here. This is that, like I said, the hydrogen's piling up here, and in the higher densities, you'll notice that the red is more intense because more hydrogen atoms are ionizing and causing more of a concentration of this ionized stuff. That's what we're seeing here. Same here, a little bit here. So the different density of color is important. Back here, not so much. Still getting some ionization, but it's mixed with dust. That's why it's sort of muted. There's dark dust that's covering this stuff all here. So you can't see it. This stuff is more exposed to us, but this stuff is kind of behind dust. It's really neat how that works. Yeah, and you actually see literally like rays, sunbeams almost, and those are the trapezium stars are so hot that they're actually illuminating dust along the way, and it's getting blocked by some dark dust, and it makes a shadow, which is really interesting. Look at that though. It looks like an abstract painting, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Yeah, okay, let me do a color correction. Yeah, it gives us a little more red like we should. Look at that. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Now we have an ultra dense part right here. Now I want you to notice something here. Look at the shape of this thing. See the shape of that? There's a reason why things are shaped. Remember I talked about the stellar winds forming these arcs and troughs? As it encounters different densities of material, the stuff is sort of prevented from going further. So right here we see that this area right here a little bit denser, so the hydrogen can push past it on either side, all right, and make an arc. But this is denser, so it's slower to react over time, and that is really cool. All right, well over here you'll notice that we see this lengthwise thing. If you draw a line back, guess what it's pointing to? You got it. It's pointing to the trapezium. Let's actually show that. Years and years of study of the Orion Nebula. Okay, so back here, this dust, okay, there's the trapezium. This dust right here is being pushed along by the trapezium stellar winds in all likelihood. So it kind of lengthens it out. Now, we don't know the 3D layout of this dust, nor do we know its motion. There are motion studies for this stuff, so that's pretty cool. But you can see some of these effects occurring in real time, kind of, sort of, when you look at these things. Now, these stars are relatively young, and one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to clear, literally clear, the interior of gas and dust. It hasn't cleared the interior here yet, but it will. Kind of like the Rosette Nebula, which has a central cavity with sharp, these bright hot stars, and the outer nebula of emission around it. That's neat. Okay, let's say we're gonna do enough of that one. That's beautiful. I just thought you'd want to see that, so you can see a little better. Okay, we're gonna save this now. And I want to make sure that I'm gonna make a note of this. This is measure 42. Oops, sorry, that was a mistake. 42. Oh, gotta have a shift state problem. Okay, measure 42 segment. There we are. Okay, and I'll save it with 28. Very cool. Okay. All right. So now what we'll do is we'll come out of there, go back to our low light mode. Even in low light mode, the Orion Nebula shows up. It's crazy. All right. Now, with all this talk of dust and so forth, there's one more place I want to look at before we move on. And that's this little guy down here. It's right there. Okay, so let's stop this here. Let's move that up and move it over into the middle. Oops, wrong way, Feldman. Oh, it flipped over, that's right. Okay, there we go. Alright, good. Alright, so this is what we're looking at right here. So let's go see if we can grab a guide star in this extremely dusty region. There's a lot of dust here. So hopefully we can grab a star. We got, looks like almost one. And well, okay, two. Found the second one. That's good. All right, let's see how that one works. If not, I will change the star. Okay, but I want you to look at this object right here. This is something really neat. It's called the 13th pearl, also known as the rubber stamp. And what the heck does that mean? I don't know, but I'm going to take a 25-second shot of it and show you what's going on here. Alright, so let's get out of low light mode and go into our stack. This is a neat object because this particular object is different from what I've been telling you. I've been telling you how in the darkness there's always dust there. Well, this is one of those places that's different. And you'll see why in just a sec. Alright, so first of all, let's do this. And let's color correct. Okay. Isn't this a weird object? Look at that. Now, I'm going to move this down a little bit just to get rid of some of the noise. Okay. Now, we are in a very dusty area. This is all dust in here. Every bit of this is dust. You're absolutely right to think that. All dusty, okay? But if we zoom in on this section right here, okay, you notice it looks like a keyhole. Okay, that thing right there. There's a star, and it's illuminating dust, causing what is it? A reflection nebula. Good, I heard you. It's making a blue reflection nebula, and then it's within the dust. However, there's a little particular area in this region where there's no dust at all. Right here. Now, for years in astronomy, we thought this might have been a very, very dense, dark object made of dust. Perhaps making a planetary system at some point to another star. In fact, what we're looking at is a true void in space. We don't usually see them. This is one of the very rare cases where there's a void, and this is one of them. So this is actually a true dark little keyhole looking through this dust all around it. There's a tiny little piece right there where there's nothing. No dust to get in the way. Isn't that crazy? And this is called, we'll call it the 13th pearl, because that's the name that is colloquially given to this. Its real name, okay, which I can get for you, is it's called the Black Eye Nebula as well, but it's also known as NGC, New General Catalog Number 1999. And I'll just I'll put that at the beginning. All right, there we go. Just like this. All right. So there you go. That's the coolest thing. JSCO says, what removed the dust? You know what? Excellent question. We don't know. It might just be the way the dust was arranged, that there was just none there. Now, there's also a star here, by the way, guys. So with a star being here, it's illuminating this dark void in the dust. Might there be more where there's no stars to see it? That's very, very possible. Eric's with us. Hey, Eric, how you doing? Oh, yes, and Eric points out something very, very true. This is a very nice visual object to see in the telescope live with an eyepiece. It's bright enough to be seen. And yeah, you're right. Fantastic. Okay, Fantasy says you're going to take care of something for a bit, so keep you guys on the big screen. If you got questions, sorry I can't answer. Okay, that's fine, man. Hey, I just like that you're putting this on the big screen. I think that's cool. If I do this, you'll see that this area, it has this haze here. That's not bright lights. That's actually the dust that is bathing this whole area, except for that one little spot. Yeah, and it's been confirmed that that dust is there, and it's been confirmed that that hole is actually there. Dean Bustador, how are you, man? I'm glad you caught us streaming tonight, man. So happy you're here. Okay, we're gonna just do another one. There we go, 12, and then we'll say we're good there. All right. So we've just saved it, and then I'll save it just like you see it. And this will be it. SkyTourLive.org. If you want it, you can go there and download it. All right. So tonight we're looking at what are called molecular cloud complexes. All the dark dust we're seeing, those are molecular cloud complexes. Areas where the universe has dark dust that's in between us and the stars, and it actually shows it. We see that with various images we've taken so far. And those molecular clouds are all throughout the galaxy, all right? And another places that we can see them, I'm going to see if we can come up here. Yeah, we're gonna try this. All right, this Rosette Nebula is interesting because of the fact that we can actually see this cluster of stars that cleared the center. This is the cluster, and it cleared the center out of this whole region, and that's kind of neat. And I'm going to show it to you. Let's I'm going to do it just like this, and let's see if this works. All right, first of all, let's grab a star. That's going to be great. There's a good star. Perfect. All right, so now what we're looking at is the Rosette Nebula. If we go here, okay, I'm going to show you that red square that you see right here. That's the size of our sensor. And we're looking at, if I zoom in a little more, you can see that it's upside down here, right? So we're looking here, okay, and we're just about there. And so what I'm going to do now is we'll take a picture, see where we're sitting. All right, I'll do a 25-second shot, and then we'll go into our deep sky mode, baby. All right. Thanks, Dean, for responding. That's good. Glad everything is going well. All right. So now you'll see this central part of this nebula, and you'll notice that where the stars are, there's not a whole lot going on, but around them you're going to see some nebula. Okay. So let's do this. Let's fit the height. Okay, there's the center, and the center goes all the way out, you know, here. Okay, we're seeing part of it, and here's one of the edges right there. Let's do this to show you a little better. Okay, the region I'm looking at is this guy right here. See that right there? Let me show you where that is. Okay, that's right here. Okay, that's right there. So we're seeing this nebular structure right here. Okay, the images in here aren't that good, but that's okay. They do the job. All right, so as we move forward here, let me color correct. And we're at 200, doing 25 seconds. You can see the red emission. This is more of that oxygen, but there's also a lot of dust in here. We can't really see the dust right now because we have to take more exposures to make it more evident. But if I over process, you can get an idea what's in here. You can see how much more stuff is in the back here. This is actually a very pretty composition because we see the cluster, and then we see some of the effects of the cluster's hot radiation pushing material out of the way. It's really, really something. Let me try this actually. Yeah, I can do that. I can tolerate that. So that's good. So we've stacked 5. And when we say we stack, what we're doing is we take an image, take a second image, align it with the first, and lay it over, and make an image sandwich. The more images we stack on top of each other, the less noise we see in between the stars and the nebulae, because that's all random noise. With every exposure, it's different, but if you add it all up, it averages it all out. But the data gets more. You see more and more of the same data, and that makes it really, really nice. Okay, let's do this. Pull this over a little. Get that contrast. Look, we had a satellite go whipping through here on one of these exposures. That's something. Alright, let's lower that for a minute and watch it grow. It's like a kid. You watch it grow. Look on this screen. It's growing big. Look at that. Oh, it's so bright. It's so beautiful. Oh, I don't know what to say. I don't need coffee. Thank you, JSCO. I've got my water. If any of you are going to be at Contact in the Desert, one of the things I might want to do is a live sky tour while I'm there. I did it a couple years in a row out there, and people really like it. They enjoy it, so I might do that. Let's do this. No, let's do this. Oh yeah, that's going to be exceptional. Look at the complexity here. I mean, there is such heat in here generated by these stars. It's outstandingly large and bright. Okay, so we're just going to do a couple more. Then I'm going to move this whole area down to the lower left and show you another area which really is amazing in this nebula. Okay, we got 11 here. Let's just categorize it first. There we are, and we're going to say, hey, watch it. Then we're going to say Rosette Nebula right there. Set that target name. Save with annotations. And then get rid of it, and then we'll say save with 12. Save exactly as seen. Okay, now we're going to move these stars down here, and you're going to see the other side. This is one side of the nebula. Look at the detail in there. All right. So now let's go and do this again. But we're going to move these stars, these bright center stars, down here. So let's do that now. Oh, I went the wrong way again. Sorry. I see why, too. The telescope did what's called a meridian flip, and so I forgot that you have to now go the opposite direction when you're doing some of the motions. Okay. Okay, so that's good. And then this goes down here. Yeah, I wasn't asking you to, sorry. Okay, and now I'm going to just take us to a region. It doesn't look like much is going on. All right. And the reason is because, as I said, a lot of strange things happen in the dark. And in the dark, in this particular location, you're going to see some amazing things. There's stuff in here that is going to blow you away. Yes, it's true. I know. Doesn't look it. Trust in your little astronomer here. Okay, let's grab that star. That's the one. Guide on it. Excellent. I'm going to drop this down to a 1 second exposure. We get the peak to stay just below. There we go. All right, we don't want it. If it goes too overexposed, it's got a flat top, and then we can't really guide. Okay. Now let's do this. Another 25-second shot. Okay. Michael Hedrick asking about UAP sightings over Colorado. You know, I got a lot of reports coming out of Colorado, Michael, and a lot of them were B-2 bombers and stuff with all the Iran stuff going on. I'm not saying that's what was seen. I'm just saying that that's one of the things that people have been seeing. Okay, you're going to see this beautiful knot of material materialize here. This is incredible. This is the other side of that nebula. Okay, now to give you an idea what else is there, this will be rough looking because we only have one exposure, but okay, look at that. There's a lot hiding in here. Okay, now what is all that? Well, that is dark dust, tendrils of dark dust that is being shaped by those bright hot stars with their copious stellar winds pushing them around. All right, and you can see the cavity here. All right, imagine it going all the way around. Okay, here. This is the cavity created by these hot stars that make this object up. The stars are so powerful with their winds, they push all this material out. So they're born in the middle of all of it and then push it all away, leaving a ring around it, like a sphere around themselves with a central cavity that they've carved out with their heat and ultraviolet light. Pretty cool. All right, now we'll do this. We'll pull this in just to pull it a little more. This dust is fascinating, and the reason is because I've said this to you before. Life began in the dark, you know, and for the Earth, we were in a dark nebula. Materials were forming in the dark nebula that would then become building blocks of planets. Okay, and in the dark and in the cold of space, where there's lots of dark dust, this is something that was ongoing and always occurring. So that right there, you're actually looking at the universe in the process of birthing other worlds, because within this nebula have been identified areas, blobs of dark dust that are gravitationally collapsing. Now that means that maybe a star will be born in there. Maybe that means that a planet system will be born in there. As an example, there's one right there. Okay, there's a dark blob. Well, let's say right there. Okay, the tip of the arrow. There's one. Okay, there's another one right here. All right. There's a number of them that are going to show up as time moves on here. And so all of these things serve as, I guess, gestation points for a new star, a new set of planets. That happens, and we're watching it happen in the universe all over the place. This is no different. Let me know, guys, if you're enjoying tonight. If you want to see anything in particular, throw it in the chat and let me know. We have time while we're waiting for this one to come in. Dead Sun Prime, yo, what's up, man? Kathy Messick saw the Skywatch as well. See, I did a Skywatch with Ben Hansen, good friend. And, you know, Ben and I take everybody out, you know, off-site in buses, two buses, two big Greyhound buses. And we set out chairs, and people can sit there and listen to Ben and I talk about the night sky and go through stuff. Actually, I'm going to tell you something funny. 2 years ago, our sky tour was not rained out but clouded out. There was not the sky tour but our sky watch, and in the sky watch, everybody basically was sitting in their chairs looking up at clouds. Well, neither Ben nor I wanted that. We had so much to do. But Ben says, Mark, you have some stories you can tell him, I think. And we're thinking, oh, maybe Mark's just going to make up some stuff to kind of placate the masses that are here, 200 people. And I said, no, actually, Ben, that's a good idea. You've got some too. And Ben and I talked about various things we've seen that were odd, strange, unexplainable. And when we got back, even though we couldn't see a single star, people said that it was one of the best sky watches they'd ever been on. I said, we didn't see the sky. Oh my gosh, we didn't see the sky at all. But they really liked it. So my point is, if you can make contact in the desert, either way, you'll have a good night with a sky watch with us, I promise you. Okay, now that we've gone a little further, you can see we not only have this one and this one, we have that one showing up, we have that one showing up, and that one. We have, we've got this one showing up, we've got that one showing up. And these are all little, the term has become globule, Globule, globule. These are globules. And they're named for an American astronomer that actually was one of my professors when I was getting my degree for a period of time, and his name was Bart J. Bach, B-O-K, Bach. And these are known as Bach globules. And they turn out to have a very interesting gravitational contraction going on as they self-gravitate toward the center of their center of mass and center of gravity. And we're watching potentially solar systems, star systems form. That's what's neat about this. Oh, that's pretty. You know what? Let's drop that down again. There we go. Look at that. You got to love this. This is so beautiful. I don't know how to tell you how this is. Oh, it knocks my socks off. Really, really pretty stuff. Now, in the area out here and here where the red is, it's warm there. It's hot. And it's hot enough to ionize hydrogen. Now, that means very high temperatures, okay? So, even though it's ionizing hydrogen gas there, one thing you have to understand is that even though it's doing that, inside these dark clouds here, okay, they might be protected from the intense bombardment and lethal radiation being spewed out by these stars. So in these little globules, as they get denser and denser, there's going to come a point where the stuff forming in them will be protected from the destructive effects of the stellar winds from the central stars. And so these globules can continue to exist and continue to form something inside of them because the outside world, effectively, can't get in because the dust density prevents the radiation from stripping the globules apart. So the darker the globule, the denser it is. All right. Now that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is it's just a lot of material in a long, thin line pointing directly at you. But what are the chances of that? Maybe 2 in 10. All right. But so we're looking at this beautiful region. It looks like all this separate little dust in here, doesn't it? Now, let me try something. Yeah, okay. I don't want to do too much there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this and try to back it down. Right. Now you see what's hidden out there. And what I'll do is I will back this down to kind of bring that. Now we have some noise. We can see some noise here. But again, we are at 200 gain. So we only have 21 shots here. If I didn't want any noise in this, I could do two things. One, I could take this and drive it way down. And now you can see there's very little noise. Okay, it looks kind of like an interesting, abstract art. Or I could leave it up here and just take 3 times as many exposures. But I don't want to make you sit through that. See, I'm all blurry again because I'm just having such a good time. Okay. Cosmic Ray says, this is looking... wait, hold on 1 second, Ray. You said this is looking at the brush marks on the Last Supper painting. Looking at bark in the forest? Okay, I have no clue what you just said. Alright, so right now we'll get the rest of this done. I'm gonna just... 1 second. Poofta, there we go. Ray, what are you saying? You saying you don't like this? I'm not sure what you're saying. And Dean Bussador says, so the center has far less nebula due to the... No, not an explosion, no. Stellar winds. Hot young stars push out stellar winds, high intensity radiation. Our sun has solar wind, right? And the stars that are very hot and young will push material away with their stellar winds, and they're much, much higher than the sun's stellar wind. So they will tend to push particles away over time, and dust and gas gets pushed away. And so they clear, and the actual name is a cavity. It clears a cavity. We see this in the elephant's trunk, by the way. It's another one. In the elephant's trunk, there's a little round hole in it, and there's a single star in there, and it's cleared that cavity out. That's really interesting. So yeah, this is beautiful. Oh yeah, nice. Okay, let's save that. 27, that's good. Savey. Save exactly as seen. Alright, so now you got to see some of the dark dust silhouetted against the brighter light, the less dense hydrogen gas and oxygen that's out there. Really neat. Okay, let's redock this for a moment. Beautiful. Let's see if we can get another helpful color rendering here. Too much red. And let me do this. Okay, well, neat. I'm not gonna, actually, I'm going to do that again. I'm just gonna save it since I'm at 29. I might as well just wait till 30. Well, this is off center from the rosette. The wide field shows the whole rosette, but I'm showing people details we can't see with the wide field because we can't get in close like we do here. There we go. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, so now let us go see if we can do another object, which I've been kind of waiting for. That's right, JSCO, we've chosen to specifically look at this one section. I had reasons. I was trying to share with folks details about this area. Let's go look. I do know the seagull's pretty. We'll do this one. Oh no, wait. Actually, I don't need. I won't do this one yet. I want to do one that is even higher in the sky. Yeah, right here. Okay, it's coming in. We are not there. It's here. Come on. I want this region. Oh, duh. Yeah, it's right near Orion. I was right there. Sorry. Okay. Now, there's a couple things that I'll show you. Number one, we're going to go here. When I'm in a neighborhood, I always look at Hubble's Variable Nebula. All right, there it is. Hubble's Variable Nebula changes its brightness week to week, and the reason is because that star that I'll show you, that star right there, right in the nebula, is also surrounded by dark dust, which, as the dust orbits around the star, it casts a shadow on this very nebula here, which is kind of cool. I think that's neat. So let's move that in. All right, center it up. Okay, that's almost good. That'll be perfect right there. Okay, and now let's see about grabbing a guide star. Let's do this. What I'm doing doesn't change the capability of the guide star. It just makes it easier for humans to see it. Okay, there we go. All right. So now we're going to take, in this one, we don't have to go very long. It's actually not a very, it's very bright relatively. So we can do a 25-second shot here. Okay, and we're going to come out of this low light mode and go into our deep sky stacking mode, and we're going to see this thing in all its amazing detail. Kathy Messick says amazing detail in the rosette. Yeah, that's true. Yes, Ray, we know. And tonight is the scope that has the higher focal length and more magnification, because that's what I'm doing. All right, and if we take this curve just a little back, there you can see the nebula. It's beautiful, and I'm gonna right away. I'll just pop that down so we can watch this. All right, now right now we have 2 stacked. All right, and it'll stack more and more. But see, here's where I was getting at. Now, pardon the noise for now, this fuzzy noise. So this star is surrounded by dust, and as it orbits, it's casting a shadow up in here. And so over time, you can literally watch it. Over a couple of weeks, you can actually watch this change brightness because the dust is very close to the star. Actually, it's a phenomenal live laboratory of the universe that we're looking at right here. It's like a live laboratory. Unbelievable. It's one of my favorite places. I photographed it with a 20-inch Alvin Clark refractor in a major observatory when I was working on the parallax program, studying nearby stars. Because some of the program stars were like here and there and over there, and so I would focus on the stars and measure their parallax, and then I saw the nebula and I said, I've got to take a picture of Hubble's Variable Nebula. And it was beautiful. The refractor had what's called an F ratio of 19. It was an F19. It was like a 40-foot long tube with a 20-inch lens on the end, made over 130 years ago, but is absolutely beautiful. Okay, let's do one thing while I'm here. Let's color correct, get the sky appropriate, and now let's do this. Okay, so you can see this detail in here. This detail you're looking at right here is driven by the dust around the star in here. Some of it's being illuminated by the star, but some of it is shadow being cast on this nebula. Let's do this. Let's drag this way down, so you can start to see the detail there. Now again, we're at 200 gain. If I did this at 100 gain, it'd be a lot smoother looking in here, and that's something we call unity gain, where it just means that we end up capturing this with as little noise as possible, as little of a noise as possible. Okay. Beautiful. All right, and this, it probably knows it, but I'm gonna, yeah, it does. All right, that's Hubble's Variable Nebula. We're gonna just grab that. That's the target, and we'll save it with annotations. And go back to our stacking. Very nice. Let's back out just a bit. Yeah. By backing out just a bit, you can catch any faint dust that might be in the background. Very good. Thank you, Ray, for that. Zoom satellite. Okay, let's save those 11 shots. Save exactly as seen. You know, it's kind of interesting. The golden age of astronomy was when people could look in the night sky and see things they've never seen before. Everything we look at, nearly everything, is something that's already been seen before. Some astronomers find things that are vast and expansive that have never been seen before. You know, and some amateurs do as well. So it's really interesting. We'll save this. save exactly as seen. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. It's looking so good, you know. That is a beautiful thing. So, to understand what's really going on here, you need to understand that this region is full of dust that's blocking stuff. Okay? This is a rare region where a star is illuminating part of the dust cloud. You notice the color here? It's not like the hydrogen color. It's actually the reflection nebula color, the blue color. This is just a reflection nebula. The dust inside this cloud that's being illuminated by the star is scattering blue light to us. But wait, why isn't it over here? Why isn't it here? Why isn't it over here? It just has to be, it has to do with the way the dust is laid out. The dust is all throughout this region, and this is one little area where we can see the illumination of this star. It's blocked everywhere else. Maybe it's up here, and we're looking back here. So there's many different architectures that can explain how this is laid out. All right, let's do our last exposure here with 16. And we're going to move up. All right. Okay, so I am going to say, I told to resync, but yeah, no. Yeah, you can move them out because I'm not taking images anymore. All right, and it's going to center us up. There we go. And let's go there. All right, and then we're going to go here. Okay. All right, and then I think I have Hubble's variable nebula selected in here. This should be it. And it is. Okay. So now I'm going to do an alignment on just that object. Okay, it actually feels that we're right there, so I have to move it in the middle, add a crosshair, I'm just moving this down, guys, that's all. All right. Get that right near the center. I need that. I need this precision for the next object. Okay. Excelente. Okay, so now I'm gonna come here, zoom in on this, and do this. Okay, so I know it didn't look like anything happened, but it did. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move up here and take us to a region that is just unbelievably stunning. Okay, and it's going to be right there. Okay, it's going to be kind of like this middle area right here. All right, and so we should see, oops, let me just make sure we center on that. Oops, sorry, I screwed up. Hello. Okay. All right, so we're centered on that. Let's come over here. All right, now I'm gonna do a photo for 20 seconds and make sure I have what I want. And then we'll move on. to capturing it. That star right there is this star right there. All right, let's go here. Okay, there's the blue. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good. There's the blue, and so yeah, and what we want is right here. Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so now we will capture the stars and do our guiding. Well, it's got one, so we're doing it. We don't see one, but the camera does. The guiding star, that is. Guide star. Okay. Let's see how that's going to work. Okay, so we're looking at this region. This is the Christmas tree cluster. All right, we're looking now that you see it's moving. That's because the guider is settling into a guiding pattern. I don't like that guide star though, so I'm going to have it pick a different one. That's much better. I like that one better. Okay, that's better. All right. Okay, now we're gonna start a. We'll do instead of this. I can say change the exposure. Now we're gonna say 30 seconds at 200, and we will stack it and drop that down to Zippo. We'll be full screen right now on this, so this will be cool. This is a gorgeous region, by the way. You're going to see a beautiful blue nebula down here. You'll see a bright star here, and you're going to see this other dark nebula here with some hydrogen emission in it as well. It's going to be just stunning. And then down below all of it is yet another thing that we'll go to next. Immortal Sergeant, what's happening? Nice to see you. Okay, let's 30 seconds, 200. There we go. Let me make sure we got the right. Yep, good. Okay, let's put this up. Let's dock this for now. All right, let's do this. Okay, pull that over. And I'm going to move this up. And color correct. Okay, what you're going to see showing up is this patch over here. That has a specific name. It's called the Fox Fir Nebula. All right, this is a cluster of hot young stars. Again, we're seeing the cluster of hot young stars causing a scattering of their light with the amongst the dust particles in this nebula. This is also dust that's mixed with hydrogen, so we're seeing a little bit of the hydrogen emission in here, but we're seeing mostly dust. And you'll start to see the pillowy nature of this stuff come out here very soon. Okay. See what else is hiding here. Let's just do an over processing moment. Okay, you can start to see the pillowy nature here. So that'll be coming out very soon. We can actually take this guy, move this closer, And let's go full screen with that so we can watch it happen. Let's also take a look at the night sky. I'm borrowing a all sky cam here. There's Orion with the nebula. And there it is. There's we're actually looking right about here. We're actually right about here. So we're actually looking nearly straight up. Let's go to this to see. All right. Excuse me. All right. Let's get rid of this. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Yeah, we're at 60 degrees. We're looking 60 degrees up or so at this. Let me go back here. We're actually, I moved it by accident, I think. I have to rotate it over. Yeah, we're over here. Sorry. All right. And let's see. This is going to be good. Fluffy is very excited. I'm not sure what that means. Hey Matt, how you doing? No, it's not the Pleiades. That's actually a it's a cluster known as the Christmas tree cluster in the constellation Monoceros, and it's right up here, right there. All right, and so we zoom in on where we are, and we're looking at this. After this, we're going to look at this. So let's get little better contrast. See this better. Okay. Look at that. Now, I can tell you right now, normally when I take pictures of this with this particular telescope and you know, focal length, etc., I do like 75 to 90 seconds per exposure. But I'm still seeing the things that we hope to see. I just don't want to make you sit through 90 seconds per exposure. That's a long time. I know some of you would not mind. Okay, let's bring this right up to near the peak. Make it as dark as we can. Look at that. So now you see the structure of this nebula that I was telling you about. That is an artifact of this bright star. That's called a lens flare. The reason you can tell this is if you look at the center of the frame, okay, you'll notice that this is here and this is there. They're symmetric across the frame from each other almost, and that's what happens with lens flares. You'll find the on the opposite side directly through the center, you will see this. So you draw a line through that center and you'll get right to this star, and that's why we know it's a lens flare. Okay. Say that, you find things out you don't even know. Okay. Let's drop that down now. And bring this now in. That's pretty. Very pretty. Pretty, pretty. So exciting to see these things, you know? Alright, now let's see. Let's dock it back up here. Dink. And 16, let's save this. It's Hubble's variable nebula. I don't want that. So we will do this. Christmas tree cluster. Set the target name. Save the image of the annotations. And get out of it for now. And then we can save it. Exactly as seen. Okay. So with processing, this will come out very, very obvious. And I might do that. So now I'm going to take us to another object, which I think you will enjoy. All right. And now we go to this object down here. This is a dark nebula that is really fascinating. It's called the Cone Nebula. And let me just get this out of the way. Okay, these two stars are the important messengers here for us tonight on this, because this guy, we zoom in, and this is a terrible image, but we're seeing those two stars right here. Okay, and then there's some right down here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move that up and then move it over. That's good. Okay. And now we'll grab our guide star and do this photo. I'll change that to 1.5 seconds. Okay. Grab a star. That's a good star. Okay. Hey, Dead Sun Prime. Yeah, you know, it's just a matter, he says, I don't think I've ever seen anything really, truly anomalous in the sky. Well, to be fair, I would say that the best thing to do is to effectively get a camera like this one, an all-sky cam. All right, and then you can actually just review the footage in the morning and let it create a time lapse for you. If you want, really, if you're serious about doing it, this is how you do it. You know? Okay, let's get this picture going. Actually, that should work. Okay. Okay, this one is going to be different. I'm going to make this one 50 seconds. All right, it's all dark in here. We're going to see a nebula right here. All right. So, and again, it's going to be, you know, we got these two stars. Okay, then you see some other stars at the very tip, and they'll show up in here. We'll see them in just a minute. Just in the minutes. Okay, so we'll go out of our low light mode, dive into the stack mode. The picture has been taken in the background, and going into stack mode doesn't ruin anything. It just has this sensor now primed to receive the new image into our data. And here it comes. Oh, there we go. Okay, there is that thing. This is called the cone right there. Okay. And what we're going to do is do this. It's going to, first things first, match our curves. Then we'll do this and it's going to make it almost go away. Okay, but you can see that it's still there. This is a region of dense hydrogen that's denser than in this region here. And these hot stars are causing it to ionize. That's why that's doing that. All right, so all right, okay. Oops, hey. Go away. Okay. Alright, so we're going to let this image develop now. And you'll see as it develops, we'll be able to, we've got two images now. We can do this, and you see the cone right there. Now in our wide field system, these two stars look like one star. You can't see this kind of detail in that wide field system, but you see vast tracts of nebula with that one, and that one is made for this type of thing. We have a breaker issue out there. That was one of the other problems. So we're going to have to, you know, come up with the money to have a breaker changed in a breaker box out there. And then we got to go out again. Marianne already drove all the way out there. You know, it's a 2.5 hour drive into the desert. So, like I said, anything you can do to help us, fantastic. Actually, you saw my Sky Tour live stream shirt. If you want one of these shirts that has all the planets on the back that says, I need my space with a ring of planets around it, a $25 donation gets you one of those shirts. That'd be great. And you could donate by the super chat. You could donate via Zelle. We trusted our nonprofit to a company that said they could manage our site, and it turned out that they started delaying payments back to us for monthly donations, and now they've declared Chapter 11. So, you know, live and learn. We didn't know. So we're like, here we go. You know, you can't trust anybody. Okay, let's see what this does. This entire region is ionized hydrogen. This is bathed in, this is dark dust and ionized hydrogen in this region. Right. So, within the dark dust, there's all kinds of dark dust in here, and I'm sure that's something that you know, you've seen before with us. Fantasy says, isn't the breaker like $5? Yeah, there's no doubt it's cheap, but getting someone out there 2.5 hours and make sure it's an electrician. Well, now you can see, if you're going to send some specialist out into the desert, you know, that's something terrible. Cost is expensive. Yeah, no, I know, Ray. Breakers aren't the problem. It's getting the licensed electrician to drive 2.5 hours out into the desert. I think that's pretty understandable. So that's what it is. Read some of the chat here. Fantasy says, didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do what? What'd you do? You never do anything bad. Okay, so. Oh, look at that. See, we had 7 images, and you notice how, I don't know if you just saw it, but with the 7th image, we got effectively half the noise in the image that we had with 3.5 images, basically. So if you double the number of exposures, you have the amount of noise effectively. That's what I've been finding with this particular camera. Kathy Messick says, is the best way to donate via Zelle? Yeah, it is. And it's a Zelle to contactskytour@gmail.com, that email down there. If anybody wants to donate to us, that'd be fantastic. Like I said, $25 gets you a really cool shirt. You know, I've got more comments on this. I'll be in also on the 22nd. I'll be in Las Vegas to do a show called The Basement with AJ Gentile. And if you've heard of the Y Files, well, he created the Y Files as well. And their talent scout, or whatever they call it, called and said he'd like to have me on that show. So I'll be doing that show, and we're going to talk all about this stuff. We're going to talk about SkyTour. You know, he's got over 5.5 million viewers. You know, so I'm hoping that we'll find a way to, you know, kick up our Patreon a little bit and allow us to, you know, do this on more than a shoestring, because it's tough. He has that annoying goldfish. That's right, Hecklefish. I was on it years ago on the Y-Files, and it was very, very funny. Yeah, coast to coast for him too, huh? Yeah. Yeah, Y-Files is great. Yeah. So it'll be fun, you know. They're having me come out to Vegas for just a 90-minute talk, 90-minute interview. And that's pretty cool. Okay, we've got 11 images here. And I'm going to change this to the Cone Nebula. There we go. I'll change it to a capital C. Oh, that was a capital C. Huh. Okay. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Interesting. Alright, well, I don't know why the capital C didn't come out. It happens sometimes, it's weird. My dance card's getting full. Hey, Ronald's here, Ert Radio. What's you doing, brother? Yeah, no. Well, I don't know if it's getting full, Kathy. I mean, okay, I'll tell you what I'm doing. That's just so you have an idea. This past week, I did a pre-interview with History Channel for The Proof Is Out There Season 6. They've got me with a bunch, like 10 stories that I have to do. So I went through them, analyzed them, and then we talked about them. And then next Friday, they're going to be here to actually film all that. So that'll be cool. And so that's the first thing that's happening. All right, let me just do this here. All right, and then I have to go to Vegas to do that show with AJ Gentile. And then let's see, April 9th through the 12th, I'll be in Arkansas at the Ozark. And I'm going to do the keynote address there on the conference. And then end of April, no, end of May, I will be in Palm Springs, Indian Wells, at that, and that's where I do the Skywatch and 2 other lectures. That's really cool. And then I come home from that on June 4th or 5th. And then July, I'm speaking in Roswell at the UFO Museum there. And then I think I'm done. Well, June 20th, I'm in Bloomington, Indiana, by the way, or Illinois. Bloomington, Illinois. There's a one-day conference that they're bringing me out for. And I'll be there with a couple of other folks that I know. It's actually quite good. That'd be neat. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Neato, okay. That's weird. Well, I must have hit a key to... Yeah, I did. Apparently I hit a key that does a finer level of detail in this, and now that I know that, I better figure that out, because I want that. I like it. Okay, well, there's your Cone Nebula right there. And to see what else is hidden, let's do this. Let's overprocess. You see, this is all dust in here as well. You're seeing a lot of dust in here. And it's just an amazingly dusty, absolutely thoroughly dusty place. Okay, let's just knock that out. Okay. If we do a negative of the image, that doesn't really help us right now. Alright, so we got this. Very nice. This is the Cone Nebula. And 16 of them. Save it right now. Save exactly as seen. Boomba. Let's see where it is in the sky. Yeah. Okay. Alright, that's good. That's good. Alright, let's go see now if we can actually... Let's see if we can actually see some of the galaxies rising. To do that, I want to get rid of this and pull in this. Yeah. Oh yeah, we got some galaxies. Let's see how far up they are. Okay. So, let's get rid of these. Not what I wanted to do. Okay. And now, oops, sorry. Made a mistake there. Okay, let's zoom in on this. Here we go. All right. The famous Leo triplet is right here. And this square is our field of view. I would like to look at one of these. let's take this one, which is measure 66. All right, and let's go check that out. So first things first, come back here, we'll save this, save it exactly as seen, and then we'll come out. And let's go back to our low light mode. There we go. And now we'll come over here and say, guess where we're going? And we're gonna go all the way over there. So we're gonna head over to the northeast. Telescope's gonna move around quite a bit because we're heading over to the northeast. Yeah. There she goes. It's gonna spin around and look back behind us now. So one axis is already done moving, so now that's right about where it should be, right about there, I think. Unless it's gonna be... Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is supposed to be pointing that way, not that one. Okay. Duh. Okay, so now let's see how far away we are. Let's say 10 seconds here. We might be right near it. It may be in the same, it may already be in the view. I'm not sure. It should be visible though. Okay. So now we're gonna say find where you are and go bring us to it, which it's gonna do right now. So it'll be right in the dead center here in just a sec. Here it is. Boom. And now we're looking at a galaxy. And this galaxy, measure 66, is pretty far away as galaxies go, and we're gonna check it out. So it's right there, and so measure 66, this guy is 35 million light years away, 35.8 million light years away. So now you basically say, well, what was going on the Earth 35.8 million years ago? Well, we're talking about quite a long time. All right, let's see the closest one I have here. That's pretty good. Yeah. Basically, we're talking about 35.8 million years ago. There was a lot of volcanic activity on the Earth back then. But we also had dinosaurs had already become extinct by 30 million years already. And so we were making our way toward modern era creatures roaming the land at that point. All right, let's grab our guide star. Yeah, we got a guide star. I see it. Right there. There we go. Okay, that's another good one. Perfection. Okay, so now we'll come in here and we're gonna do now a 35-second photo at 200 sensitivity. All right, and this is gonna allow us to see the detail in this galaxy. Very, very cool. Now let's get our colors lined up, and then let's do a quick process. Look at that. Wow. All right, there's measure 66. Now, we're going to move this mid-range down so we can get rid of some of the noise. And then park this up right near the peak to make the space darkest around here as we can. If I pull it way down, it'll soften. Now, as time goes on here, again, we only got one, now we have two stacked. You're going to see way more detail in here showing up. What a beautiful galaxy this is. Now, if you're like me, you look at things like this and you say, wow, this is amazing. I wonder if there's any intelligent life looking back at us right now. And my response is usually, maybe. I mean, someday we're going to know for sure, and we're going to feel like idiots for like, how could we ever have doubted it? I mean, it's the basis of my book, The Populated Universe, that I wrote. I was in Seattle, Kathy, because I did a movie with Douglas Trumbull, and it was being premiered at one of the Cinerama theaters, one of the only ones left in the United States, and it was very nice. You know, Doug mentioned how he and I worked on things. I was part of it. It was very nice of him to say it. He didn't have to include me that way, but I was working on it, you know, for months and months with him, and actually years. And then what I noticed was that our cell phones, they lost their charge so quickly. I mean, a full charge was gone in a half hour to 45 minutes, and you need to plug in again. I couldn't believe it. You know? Heinz Sherry is here. Sierra Vista, of course, down south of where we are right now in Benson. Yeah, and as Ronald's telling you, Tucson's a 45-minute drive. Sierra Vista, probably about the same. Seattle is sleepy, lots of clouds, drizzle. And Yvette's Forever says, well, there may be billions of other Mark Antonios looking out there, enjoying the night sky. Or, Mark, you're the only one. Huh. Okay. That's kind of pessimistic, but I as an astronomer, I can't deny that we only deal with probabilities and not certainties on most things. So, but you're right. You're absolutely right. That's funny. Okay. We'll let this percolate a little longer. Notice the detail's getting better and better now. We have 6 images captured. All right. I said 33.8, didn't I? I can't remember the distances off the top of my head. Oh, 35.8. Better. Okay, good. Good, yeah? Spock, go to this galaxy. Aye, Captain. All right. Okay. Kathy Messick says energy drain is real here. Yeah. I believe it. So, the light we're seeing tonight, coming from this galaxy right here in front of you, as we talked about, it left 35.8 million years ago. At that time, the Earth was leaving behind a relatively warm greenhouse state and heading into a glaciated state. So, and back then, we didn't have the hominids. Lucy was still millions and millions of years into the future. But the planet was getting a long-term cooling trend starting to kick in at that point. And so that led to glaciation. Temperatures were dropping, CO2 levels were dropping, and the tropical hothouse conditions of the Eocene period were leaving us behind and fading. And that's what's going on when the light you're seeing tonight started on its journey to us here tonight. 35.8 million years ago. Ice began to trap water at the poles for the first time at that point. So it's actually pretty interesting how that all transpired. Let's take a look at this a little closer now. I'm going to drop that down. And let's zoom in a little on this. Hello, folks. Can you see us? You can't see me. Look at this. I don't know why my camera goes out of focus. That's better. It doesn't matter. You don't need to see me. Yeah, so I think that's pretty interesting how we're looking at the history on Earth when the light left these objects. That'll be a recurring theme that we do from now moving forward. It'd be kind of cool. Robert Dalium says, "I am 13 billion years old." It's not wrong when you consider that the atoms that made you were brought into existence a few 100,000 years after the universe formed. And Zildrig, ZLDRYG, hello to you too. Welcome. Ronald says, on a clear night, the Milky Way seems so close I can grab the stars. And he is in Benson. He's about 6 minutes from this telescope. He's one of our donors, a big donor. And when I went out there, we went to his house, gave him a little tiny birthday cake, and then dragged his butt out of the house and took him to the observatory so he could see it for the first time. It was kind of cool. So if you notice on this object in Measure 66 here, one of the things, let me do that. All right. We'll save the target name, set target name, save image with annotations. Okay. One of the things you'll notice is that it has these spiral arms that are somewhat loose. Okay. And you'll also notice, if we look at this again, that it looks like there's a bar right here going through the galaxy. And in this particular case, this object is what's known as a barred spiral, right? You see that it has kind of a bar going through here, a density of stars through the middle, and you see one primary arm coming off and another primary arm, but there's a couple of other short stubs that are coming off, but primarily it's this one and this one coming off that you see. There's short ones, like I said. So the barred spirals are like that. They have a primary bar with two primary spiral arms coming off of them, sometimes more. All right, so that's what we're seeing here is a barred spiral. And what's interesting is the barred spirals, for a long time we thought that barred spirals were, just a particular kind of galaxy. We never thought that we were one. We always thought we were a spiral like the Andromeda Galaxy. Well, as it turns out, we're not. We're a galaxy more like this one. Okay? Not this one in particular, but a barred spiral. So we have a bar as well, it appears. And so now our galaxy and how we view ourselves may have changed, or has changed for sure. The more we know, the less we know, right? You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. Okay, so let's try and add some detail in here. That's pretty. Let's zoom in even more. Wow, that's pretty. And you'll see that it looks like it's brown, but it looks like it might have hints of red in there. It's possible that this galaxy could be interacting with its neighbor, this one. Okay, this guy is 35.8 million light years away. This member of the Leo triplet, okay, let's see how far. Let's see what his distance. I just gives redshift. I'd have to calculate the distance from that. Well, how about this one? The Hamburger Galaxy. Yeah, this one is 45 million light years away. So this is 35.8, 45. So they're within 10 million light years of each other. And that's actually pretty close galaxy-wise, you know. And so this one is fainter, but it would fill our view. So what we might want to do is make that our last item and do that. So this is measure 66. We have 22 shots. We'll save it. It is galaxy season. Or we can save the hamburger for another stream and look at one that's higher in the sky. Actually. And to do that, first of all, let's get rid of this. Okay. I would like to look at one of the ones that's higher in the sky here. Way over here. We got lots of galaxies here. Measure 95, Measure 96. These galaxies have a lot of personality. Okay, and let's look at let's see, M95. We saw the barred spiral. This is a barred spiral. This is a barred spiral, I believe. It is. And what about this one up here? M105? We might get to see more than one in a view. Maybe that might be cool. Why, yes, it will. Alright, so let's come over here. Except M105, that's an elliptical galaxy, so there's no structure whatsoever. And that's an S0, that doesn't have any spiral structure at all. So I think I'll go back to looking at 95 or 96. And let's take a look and see which one might be better. Alright, we're gonna try. We'll try 95. How's that sound? Does that work for you guys? Let's hope it does. Telescope's gonna be looking a little higher in the sky. And I believe it's up top there. And let's go back. Oh, no, stop that. Okay, right there. And that's right. Flipped around again. Okay, we'll do that. Right, this might be. Well, let's actually. We'll do a short exposure and see if we can identify what it is. I think that might be measure 95. I always want to be sure, you know. That's probably it, yep. Don't think it will be able to identify unless it can plate solve, but it probably won't. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, good. That is 95. All right. So we're going to do a 30-second shot for this. And I'll grab a star to guide on. Straight on till morning. Let's do this. Well, try it. There's not a lot of stars around here to guide on. That's the problem. Yeah, okay. Alright, so we're gonna get one more exposure to do this startup. Robert Thallium, this telescope is in Benson, Arizona. It's not out by Wilcox, it's in Benson. Yeah, and along the same way. This one is not the one out in near Wickenburg. This one is actually, the one in Wickenburg is the one that's out in the Sonoran Desert. And the Sonoran Desert telescope is the one that has the breaker issue that we're going to work through. It was available the other night. I ran it all night and everything was fine. But in the morning, there's another process that got kicked off that swamped that breaker, and we have to figure that out. So, yeah, it was definitely the Sonoran telescope that was not 100%, and it will be soon. We've identified the issue and we're fixing it. This one's Benson. You know, and when I visited Benson, as ERT radio or Ronald has said, in the clear skies, the Milky Way is so stunning you just can't stop looking up. That's what we're doing. Okay, so this galaxy, you can see it looks like a bar right there, and it kind of looks like a steering wheel. That's kind of a slang name for some of these galaxies, a steering wheel galaxy. You see how that's happening? So the spiral arm comes out and goes around. This spiral arm comes out and goes around. They kind of meet up. Eventually, you know, I will talk about, in a way you can understand, the physics of how these spiral arms work, because it's really fascinating. I've talked about it before, but it's really fascinating how it actually works. Let's do this. That's fine. And now this, and this is probably going to knock it way up. So you got to see this. You can kind of see the steering wheel like appearance. But you got to bring these way down, and you can see the detail in the nucleus. Again, we have very high dynamic range. Yeah, so it's pretty neat. So by letting it build, you'll notice that there's other stuff around here besides the steering wheel. There's another outer area. Now, one of the things about this is that this is this galaxy's spiral arms, along with many others, in fact most others, would have wound up already over time in the 13 billion years that they've been in existence, or even 10 billion, 12 billion years they've been in existence. Then in that time, the galaxies, because they're rotating and because the outer stars move a little bit slower than the inner stars, not very much. That was the big surprise. You know, Mercury goes around the sun in 88 days. Pluto takes over 200 years to go around the sun. So the farther away from the gravitational center, things move slower around the center. And we thought that we'd see that with galaxies, so that the outer stars move very slow, the inner stars very fast. But it's not quite like that. It's not exactly a rigid disk, like a disk that's spinning. Okay, but it is something where the inner stars do go around the center faster, but the outer stars, okay, they lag behind by just a little bit, so that the spiral arms can actually sweep out an arc like we see here. This is an arc. Okay, that this galaxy's arms sweeping out. Same thing there. But these swept out shapes that we see by these galaxies are taking hundreds of millions of years, if not a few billion years, to form. So the question is, why is that? I mean, why wouldn't they all be wound up if they had all this time to rotate? Why are they not all wound up? And the answer is stranger than fiction. We had to come up with a reason, and the reason we came up with is something called dark matter. Now, dark matter is matter we cannot see and can't really understand, hence the name dark. It's dark. We don't know what's in the box. But there's something in the box, and that something that's in the box is allowing galaxies to not wind up. The outer fringes of the galaxy are being kind of dragged along by something else that's present, another hidden mass of some kind that's making it so the galaxy's outer arms lag behind a little, but not as much as they should in the true physics analysis. So that's the thing called dark matter, which is sort of helping the galaxy's outer regions rotate around. So the galaxy might be this big in the middle, and then it's got a halo of this matter, this dark matter, that's also rotating with the galaxy, and that mass is helping bring the stars in this outer region around the center of the galaxy. The galaxy is going this way, around the center of the galaxy, in that way, so that they're pulled along in the outer regions, but not quite enough, not quite the same amount. So this is why we can see some spiral arms that look sloppy and messy, and some spiral arms that are all bound up. Less dark matter, more dark matter, maybe. So, you know, it's a possibility. It's a theory right now. And I can't say that it's any more than that because it's not. It is literally just a theory. But dark matter, if you use dark matter in an equation, you can solve these riddles. You can say why it looks this way. You can say why the rotation rate of galaxies is sort of like a rigid disk. It's not really, but it's sort of like a rigid disk. You know, you still get differential rotation where the stuff in the middle moves faster around the middle than the outside, but it's nowhere near what it should be, technically, if there was nothing there. So we figured there's got to be something there. So, all right. All right, so this is a barred spiral galaxy, and I'll save this as M66. Let me actually get the name. M95. Yep, there we are, and we'll say set the target name, save image annotations, and then we can get rid of this, and then we can save it. Save exactly as seen. Wow. Well, there you have it, guys. I will also keep you very well posted on the status of the Sonoran telescope. We're trying like our hardest to get that up and running reliably. It has been, but the electrical connection was severed by a water leak. And it's not even between where we're getting electricity from going out to our building. It's actually before all that. So it's upstream of us. And we're trying to figure out where that is and get it repaired. But right now we have an alternate cord that we're using. But for some reason it's a long extension cord, but it must be causing a power draw somewhere because it's popping the breaker and it shouldn't be. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good night tonight. Oh look, we're starting to get some detail in here. Look at that. It's like I want to keep going, but I can't. Well, you know what? I can stop the stream and keep going, and then you'll see it later. Unless you want to hang out. Wow. Okay, so all that said, I hope you guys have a good night, and I will be back the next clear night. We're trying to do like 2 days a week, maybe, kind of a thing. And that gives everybody a nice treat. So I hope you guys have a good evening, and you take care, and I'll catch you the next clear night. So good night, everybody. We'll see you later.
Stars so bright in the sky, on Arizona nights they fly. Nebulae in colors rare, galaxies beyond compare. Sky tour in the night so clear, brings the universe near. Real-time wonders to see, streaming light for you and me. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky tours bringing the views. Every night feels brand new. In the dark, the night unfolds, stories of the cosmos told. Through the lens, a distant dream, living real like a gleam. Far away, up so high, across the stars beyond the sky. blends a distant dream. Live it real, like a gleam. Lift your eye up so high, across the stars beyond the sky. Sky Tour shows us the way, every night a new display. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky Tours bringing the views, every night feels brand new. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky Tours bringing the view,